Hello, Alpha Squad. Welcome back to another episode of Alphabets. This week, we'll be diving a little bit into a few things that have happened over the past 7 days, as is the usual with Alphabets. This is your weekly breakdown of all of the shenanigans that have gone around in the crypto sphere. And there have been a few things of note. Bitcoin, for one, Ether's price action. And then, of course, there's still the Coinbase things that has been going on. Oh, and of course, I do have an update on a few games that are shut down. Sad as it is, but let us get right into it. Now, I do have, which I'll bring up in a second, I do have actually a really cool, how shall I say, infographic website. I'm not quite sure what term would be best, but here we go. It is not presenting properly. Okay, that is odd. Okay, no, there we go. It's good. Okay, so we have this right here. I'll drop a link in the description of this video. Crypto market insights. So this is something that I generated using Gemini, to just consolidate all the information into one place. Bitcoin reaching new all-time high of 117,000, technically a little bit over, so that's why the plus is there. And then it dipped it back down. Bitcoin's market cap, that's all things that we can kind of just like gloss over for a second. That's a lot of trade talk right there. We can see that Ether, as usual, followed Bitcoin's price action, reaching a bit of a peak and then dipping again. Although this chart makes it look like Bitcoin dipped a lot less. Maybe it did in the grand scheme of things, percentage-wise. And then Hyperliquid also reached a new all-time high, and that is a 270% increase from April, which is pretty huge. And I believe this is after news about the hyper EVM, something like that. I can't remember the exact term. So that's pretty damn cool. And then we have a little breakdown on all of the other altcoins that have also had a bit of an uptick over the past few days. We have Hyperliquid, of course. There's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple. XRP also had a bit of an increase, although kind of small for the weekly, but it's still an increase nonetheless. Cardano, Solana, and Binance Coin. So we can kind of see that the pattern of Bitcoin jumping and then coming back down for a bit is still continuing. It's just kind of how things tend to go. When Bitcoin does a big jump, then everything else kind of follows after it does a little bit of a dip, which is quite evident based on these numbers right here. Bitcoin jumped to 170K, it came back down, and then boom, everything else pumped to 1 to 2%. Well, I mean, the major altcoins, And then, of course, we have some, there's been a little progress on the Genius Act by the Senate. It has progress through Senate Banking Committee. New draft allows non-financial firms to issue stablecoins. So this is a pretty huge change. So you don't have to be a bank anymore, or I think like a Coinbase, since technically it's a financial firm, I suppose. Circle, I should correct. So now they're going to open up the floodgates for who can issue stablecoins. I mean, not every company will be able to, but they are making it. They are essentially this act right here would make things very clear on who and who cannot issue stablecoins. And then, of course, there's a Stable Act. These two kind of work in tandem. So the Stable Act, as it passes through, things are going to get way better for stablecoins, as this adds a lot of regulation. And then the SEC has also worked on how they view TradFi and all of those things, crypto. So, things are really getting better. Things are looking up for the crypto world. And then there's these things from the UK and the FCA. It's a whole lot of technical jargon and stuff. That needs its own video to break down what all of that means. Then there's been a few interesting adoptions and strategic partnerships, like Robinhood acquiring TSX crypto platform and Courage Digital acquires Mountain Protocol. So global custodians and asset managers are actively acquiring crypto native firms. So we can see that the TradFi world is really putting its fingers, its toes, everything into crypto at this point. It's not just, oh, crypto's there. Now it's like, no, we need to get into crypto. And this part right here brings that even more to light, as we can see over here, JP Morgan, Dubai, eToro, Coinbase being listed on the S&P 500. That's an index inclusion, which is massive for crypto. Ondo, JP Morgan, Chase had their first public transaction on a blockchain through Ondo Chainlink. Like some kind of partnership thing going over there. Now, this is also significant as JP Morgan has been working on its private blockchain, and yet now they've done a transaction on a public blockchain. That's pretty massive. Some more stablecoin issue things going on, issuance, Standard Chartered, streamline institutional crypto settlements, banking services, securize, and then finally that's on your blockchain-based money market fund alternative. So using the blockchain for money markets, which is pretty cool. That is freaking fantastic. So really, the gap between TradFi and crypto is really slowly, maybe now a little more acceleratedly, the gap is disappearing. Like that bridge is just disappearing. I know in crypto we love bridges, don't we? And then just a bit of a breakdown on things. So this one's really interesting too. The MetaMask Metal Card. You can find information on that here at metamask.io/card. It's I think, what is it called? A debit card, something like that. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but you can use it to pay for your transactions without needing to actually convert your crypto. You just like use them. I suppose they only work with, here we go, USDC, AUSDC, USDC, USDT with UR and GBPE by Apple Pay or Google Pay integrations. And if you have the physical card, you can just use the physical card too. You do get some cash back for using it, so I'm not sure what exactly all that looks like, but that's pretty cool. But yeah, you can go ahead and go through this, search out, look at what other things have gone on, as you can see there. But here we go. Again, spoke about that extensively last week. And of course, based on the full report, you can ask the Gemini here, AI-powered market insights, questions about everything that has gone on above, and it'll give you some answers. So that is a pretty interesting, I suppose, breakdown on all of those things. But now we can get into the part that I have been looking forward to the most, speaking about unraveling of ambition. That was terrible. So interesting things to note at first is 75.5% failure rate of Web3 games 2018 to 2023. So this is from a report from CoinGecko. What that's basically saying is that out of, let's say, 100 games, Web3 games that have started, and start building and things, 75 of them generally shut down, within a few years. And this has been true for since 2018, 80% of games kind of shut down every year. And it's pretty bad. I mean, look at this. Just this year alone, Web3 games paused or shut down in 2025, 16 plus. Over 16. And in the past week alone, we had 5 high-profile games shut down. Yeah, that would be the week of 19th of May to 26th of May. Yeah, really terrible week for crypto gaming. Especially when some of these games are Ember Sword, which I'm sure a lot of people know of, Tatsumiko, Nyan Heroes, Blast Royale, and Rumble Kong League. Pretty huge names that a lot of people have heard of or played or, been excited to play. And yet now they've all gone and shut down in 1 week. Now, there is a little bit of a breakdown on how much in capital they raised to be able to build these games out. Ember Sword being the highest with 18.8 million, Nyan Heroes at 13, Blast Royale at 10. But so over the years that they've been around, I think Nyan Heroes has been for about 3 years, 2022, 2023, something like that. 2 to 3 years. Sword, I believe, has been around a little bit longer. So in these times, they've tried building things out. Unfortunately, the budget was not enough. But we'll get into that part a little bit soon. And then Sword, pledge versus actual answer. So this was another interesting. So when you look up Sword, the first thing you see is that they had $203 million pledged. However, they did not actually receive $203 million. What they actually received was $11 million. So the $200 million was basically just a way of marketing it. And be like, oh, look at how cool we are. We raised $200 million. They didn't. That's why they always use pledge. But, it kind of insinuated that they raised $200 million. They did not, unfortunately for them. Maybe fortunately too. Maybe they would have squabbled all that money. We never know. But we can see some of the reasons that a lot of them have shut down. So over here, we have team issues, departures, which is like 5% of the problem. But the biggest problem, as we can see, is that funding shortfalls or depletion. Most of these projects ran out of money at some point. So maybe recently, maybe a few months ago, but they've all run out of money. And in their statements of, oh, we're shutting down because we couldn't acquire further funding. I know I read that with Nyan Heroes and Ember Sword and with Tatsumiko. I did not check into Blast Royale, Rumble Kong League, and Derby Stars all that well. But from Derby Stars, they did state that the terror crash in 2022 affected their fundraising very, very, extensively, I suppose is a good way to say it. So they were raising during that time, before the terror crash and during the terror crash. So crypto went into hell. No one had money. No one was willing to speculate on new assets, new games. And they've tried twice by relaunching their NFTs and things on different chains to kind of bring people into investing in them, but unfortunately did not work out. And then another thing that a lot of them have mentioned is funding becomes scarce, development costs continue, user acquisition slows due to the extended bear market or crypto winter. And that's how most of them have kind of shut down. Of course, most of them raised during the bull market hype of 2021 to 2022. So they might have spent a lot more money on marketing than they should have at the time. But yeah, this is a cool little trajectory of how things go. Initial hype, development hurdles, market shift, and then shut down. Also, another interesting thing to note is that for Ember Sword, a lot of people that played it actually said that the game was very disappointing. So take that as you will. Boring, disappointing, and not an enjoyable experience. And then, of course, we have this right here, spotlight on the closed games, how much they raised, the reasons, primary reasons for shutdown, failing funding efforts, volatile market. So most of them had tokens, NFTs. Some of them had multiple NFTs. I believe one or two of them had two tokens. I think it was Derby Stars. Derby Stars had two tokens. The utility token, as it's called in the gaming world, and then like the governance token. So yeah, pretty rough, a pretty rough and bleak view on everything that has gone down with crypto gaming. And then we have also the illusion of ownership. So this is kind of like a lot of the appeal of Web3 gaming is having true ownership of your assets. But if the game is never delivered, what's the point of owning these NFTs if there's no actual game to play it with? Now, on a brighter side, Blast Royale has decided to make their game fully open source, which is freaking amazing. So now, technically, the NFTs and whatever that were, done for Blast Royale can have that potential to live on, to go further. That's actual ownership at that point. It's not we've built this game in-house and you can only use your assets in because we allow you to. It's like, no, this game is now built by the community, hopefully it will be community driven, and your assets are now community driven things too. So that's a really cool. I do love that for Blast Royale. Maybe one of the others could, take some inspiration and do the same. But yeah, that would be the updates on all the crypto things for this week. Do want to give an honorary mention to Monstro, who I've been working with for roughly 2 years now. They are a managed yield farming project. So you deposit your funds, they do all the yield farming things for you. You don't have to do anything else. And then every week on a Wednesday, they pay you out. But yeah, if you want to look into that, you can. The link will be in the description. Now, that will be all of the updates for this week. I know it has been a very exciting week, and maybe I'm not the most excited about it, but it has been interesting. I do prefer drama, but if you enjoyed this, please don't forget to click the like button. I think it's like over there somewhere. Subscribe. No, like is over here. Subscribe is over there. Here we go. So don't forget to click the like button or smash it, hit it, whatever term, and subscribe if you would like to see more of this sort of content. I will be delivering different content over time. Don't just be these sorts of updates. I'll do just breakdowns on one thing or so. But yeah, if you have enjoyed this, please hit the like button and subscribe. Until next time, bye.